So you want to learn English. Maybe you're just starting out, maybe you've been at it for a while, but you still don't feel fluent. You watch videos, you try apps, you memorize some words, but deep down, you keep asking yourself, what is the best way to actually become fluent? Well, today I want to give you something different, not just quick tips, not just hacks or shortcuts. I want to give you a full guide, the kind of guide I wish someone had given me when I started learning English. And I'm going to walk you through step by step how to start, what to focus on, and how to stay motivated when things get hard, and how to actually, reach fluency without wasting years, doing the wrong things. Let me just be clear from the beginning. I'm not a native speaker. I'm from Argentina. Spanish is my first language, and I became fluent in English in about 2 years. Not because I'm special, not because I had talent, but because I found a way to make it work. And if I could do it, um, everybody can do it as well. So let's imagine this video as your roadmap, right? Your ultimate guide, and let's go step by step. The very first thing you need is clarity. Ask yourself, why do I want to learn English? And don't just say, because it's useful or because everyone speaks it. That's not really enough. You need a reason that is personal. Maybe you want to, I don't know, you want to move abroad. Maybe you want to get a better job. Maybe you want to travel and feel free to talk to anyone. Maybe you just love to maybe you love movies or music and you want just to experience them without subtitles. Whatever your reason is, make it yours, because that reason is going to carry you when motivation disappears. And trust me, motivation will disappear. That's the reality. That's why you need commitment, not just motivation. Now, once you know your why, and you know what you want to do it for, the next step is building your identity. You have to stop thinking like, I'm someone learning English, and you have to start thinking, I'm someone who speaks English. Even if you are a beginner, you start telling yourself that, start imagining yourself as a speaker, because your brain, follows your identity. And if you see yourself as a casual learner, you'll quit the moment things get difficult. But if you see yourself as a speaker, you will keep going, even on bad days. Now let's talk about input. You probably heard this word, input. It means the English that comes into your brain. What you read, what you listen to, what you watch. And if you want to speak naturally, you need a massive amount of input. And I don't mean boring textbooks. I mean, real shows, like real English shows, movies, YouTube videos, podcasts, books, things that you actually enjoy. Don't force yourself to read, I don't know, Shakespeare if you don't like it. Read what you love and listen to topics that you really like. Like if you would like to, I don't know, football. You like football. Let's just watch football. Commentary. If you like gaming, watch gaming content. Make English part of your daily life. And here's the key. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. At the beginning it will sound like noise, but if you keep going, if you keep listening, one day it just clicks. You start recognizing words, and then you start recognizing phrases, and then full sentences. And that's how fluency is actually built, through hours and hours of listening and reading. But input alone is not really enough. At some point you need to speak. You need output. You need to speak and you need to write. And this is where most people get stuck. They wait until they feel ready, but the truth is that you will never feel ready. You have to start speaking before you feel prepared. And make mistake, sound awkward, forget words. That's all part of the process. I'm still making mistakes. That's completely normal. I still make mistakes in my native language. So Yeah, and when I started, I will talk to myself in English while like walking down the street. I would practice conversation in my head. I will record myself reading, and it slowly became natural. So my advice is like, don't be afraid to sound bad. Bad is good. Bad means you are learning and you are making progress. Now let's address a big obstacle, what is which is fear of judgment. And a lot of people don't practice because they are afraid of what others will think. But here's the truth: they actually the actually truth is that nobody really cares. Native speakers don't care if you have an accent. um, they don't care if you make mistakes. They care if you can communicate. That's it. And honestly, um, most people will admire you for learning their language. So stop hiding, speak, and practice. Use your English. um, let's move to another crucial part, which is consistency. Fluency is not about studying 10 hours a day in like 10 hours one day. It's about showing up every single day, even if it's just 15 minutes. Think about it like going to the gym. You don't get strong from one long workout. You get strong by training regularly. Same with English. Daily input, daily output, daily exposure. That's the recipe. For getting fluent. Now let's talk about the environment. Your environment shapes your progress. If you surround yourself with Spanish all day and only touch English for 10 minutes, well, then your progress will be slow. But if you create an English environment, change your phone to English, follow English speaking creators, play games in English, even think in English, and then you multiply your progress. Make English like your default, not just an activity. I also want to talk about patience, because here's the thing: fluency doesn't happen overnight. It takes months, even years, and a lot of people quit because they think they're not making progress. But progress is invisible. You don't notice it every day and day by day. You notice when you suddenly watch a movie without subtitles and realize, wait, I actually understood that. Or when you have your first full conversation with native speaker, and those little victories are the proof. And you have to trust the process. And I also want to talk about pronunciation, because a lot of learners ignore it, but pronunciation is powerful. It's not about sounding like a native, but it's about being clear and confident. And the secret is listening carefully and imitating. Don't just study words, study the music of the language, the rhythm, the stress, the melody. That's how you start to sound natural. And here's something else: don't compare yourself to others, because everyone learns at different speed. Some people learn faster, some slower. That doesn't really matter. What matters is that you keep moving forward. And the only person you should compare yourself to is the version of you from yesterday. Yeah, now let's get real for a second. There will be days when you don't want to study. Days when you feel like quitting, days when you think, well, maybe English is not for me. And those are the most important days, because anyone can study when they feel motivated. But real growth happens when you study without motivation. That's when you build discipline, and discipline beats motivation every single time. And let me give you a little secret. Learning English is not just about the language. It's about who you become in the process. You become a more patient person, a more consistent person, more confident. When you push through the challenges, you're not just learning words and grammar. You are building a stronger version of yourself, and that version of you is going to achieve fluency. So Let's put it all together. If you want to learn English, here's the roadmap. The first thing is find your reason, build your identity as an English speaker, get massive input every single day, start speaking even when you feel like you are not ready, be consistent, not perfect, create an English environment around you, be patient and trust the process, focus on pronunciation and clarity, don't compare yourself to others, use discipline, not just motivation, and that's it. That's the guide. It's not complicated, but it requires commitment and consistency. And if you do these things, I promise you, fluency will come. And let me just say that I'm not telling you this as some expert. I'm telling you this as someone who has been there, someone who started from zero, who struggled, who made mistakes, who felt insecure, and still made it to fluency. And if I did it, you can do it too. So don't give up. Don't wait for the perfect moment. You can start today. Don't do something in English today. Listen to something, read, speak, write, whatever. Because every little step, counts, and those steps will add up to fluency faster, more than you think. All right, that's my full guide for you. I hope this helped you to not just understand what to do, but actually feel inspired to do it. Because knowledge is useless without action. So take action, and who knows, maybe one day you will look back at this video and think that that was the day I decided to really commit. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, guys.